Welcome, everyone, to another edition of SCRC's Let's Talk Caregiving. I'm your host, Roberto Velasquez, President and CEO of Southern Caregiver Resource Center. And I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Martha Rañón, our Executive Vice President. How you doing, Marta?
Hey, Roberto, I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Kelly Peters. Kelly is the Vice President of Community Impact for Rancho Coastal Humane Society. She was born and raised here in San Diego and has held various positions at the Rancho Coastal Humane Society, including customer service manager, foster care coordinator, events coordinator, director of donor and community relations, all kinds of great positions there. And she is a local, lives with her husband. She has 2 dogs and 2 cats. And also, Kelly is a caregiver. So I wanted to thank you very much for joining us today, and we're going to talk again about caregiving, and I'd love to hear that perspective as a caregiver and also as a person who is very involved in pet therapy, adoptions, all those kinds of things, and the importance that those have with seniors and families and caregivers of people with disabilities. So thank you, Kelly, for joining us.
Thank you.
Kelly, I am so glad that you are here with us. And as a fellow dog owner and a cat owner, and it's really exciting to hear from your perspective how the programs that you have available to the community, how they help the community. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about that, the programs that you have, the things that you do there at the Humane Society.
Sure. And again, thank you both so much for having me. And yes, I have a little bit of a different perspective, right? Because I'm able to speak to the animal component, but also the caregiving component, and they work so well together. And I've seen the amazing effects that animal welfare can have on an individual. So I'm very grateful to be here and to talk a little bit about that. Rancho Coastal Humane Society has been around since 1960. Our primary focus used to be just kind of the adoption of dogs, cats, and rabbits, and our humane education program for hosting kids' camps and teaching kids about empathy and compassion and pet ownership. But over the years, we have really amplified the need to create services so that animals who are already out in the community do not come to us and get relinquished if there is something that we can do to avoid that happening in the first place. And that's kind of what I want to speak to today is those programs and how there is such a deep tie to, the senior community and the caregiving community, and making sure that we provide resources to keep pets with their owners so that they never have to come to the shelter, because we all know that not only does the animal prefer to be with their people, but people need pets, and it's an amazing relationship that they can have together. So we will speak about that.
I am glad that you mentioned that because we know that having pets it just really helps with the overall issue of relieving stress, having companionship, really redirecting, talking to caregivers when they are in a heightened state because of the person that they're caring for. Usually, when it has to do with dementia or Alzheimer's, having a pet, introducing that companion really helps to decrease some of those levels of stress and really calm the person, redirect them. Maybe they start talking about the pet and really focus on that. And it can become a very helpful tool for family caregivers. So I'm glad to hear that you do that. Would you agree, Roberto, that that could be something that caregivers can utilize as a tool?
I was just going to say, thank you for bringing that up because I do know that caregiving takes such an emotional toll on the individual. Isolation,
Mhm.
loneliness, even frustration and anger. And sometimes it could be misdirected to the person that they're providing care for. And especially when somebody has some condition like Alzheimer's disease or something where they're repeating themselves, or they're behaving in a manner that is disturbing or something, and you're trying to control that, and introducing that distraction in the form
Mhm.
of a pet, especially if they were pet lovers themselves, growing up and they had pets all their lives. That is must be such a calming experience for both the caregiver who is now has this kind of like a third family member involved, and then their loved one who is needing that connection as well. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about how that goes, because I know that you have a senior program, and some of that is actually visiting communities and nursing homes and stuff. But how does that impact the individual through your experience there?
Yeah, that is such a great point. The pet therapy component is really huge for us. And like you said, we go into different senior living facilities, assisted care facilities, hospitals on occasion. We even, go to local schools for kids who are doing finals week. But we have found that, in the senior community, they are really missing maybe their pet that they couldn't bring to the senior care facility. So our pet assisted therapy program is really neat. The program is based off of individual owners who own their own pet, and they come to us to be certified and get their animal trained to be certified as a pet therapy dog. And then those animals, once they're certified and we know that they have the right temperament to go to those sorts of facilities, we arrange things in the community and get all of these pet assisted therapy volunteers with their dogs to go out in the community and yeah, pay it forward, shall I say. And the look on these individuals' faces when they see a dog is just absolutely amazing. It's a game changer. And we see it in hospitals, and we know the impact that it can have. So the fact that Rancho Coastal Humane Society has really taken that to heart and realized the importance of it is huge. And we've kind of expanded that as well. So you have that component, right, of the therapy component, but we also promote people adopting in a senior situation as well. So we have a Seniors for Seniors program. So if a senior citizen is looking to adopt a senior pet, we will actually waive the adoption fee and help find you a good companion if it works out. I know it doesn't necessarily work out for everyone, and that's why the pet assisted therapy program is so great for those who cannot take that on. But for those who are maybe a little bit more able bodied or have a caregiver who is willing to take on that extra, task, it's a beautiful thing. So a senior citizen can come to our shelter, meet with some of our senior adoptable animals, whether it's a dog or a cat, or perhaps a rabbit, but usually a dog or a cat, and see if they can create that bond. And I think a lot of times what we find is that seniors are really worried about adopting because, sure, they're okay right now. Maybe they don't suffer from dementia. Maybe they don't need a caregiver right this moment. But their question, and it's valid, is, well, what happens in a couple years from now if I start to lose my memory? And it's really important that we let them know about the services and how we will continue to care and help them in that time. And that's where our program, like the veterinary care for seniors program, really comes into place, where if you're on a fixed income and you're a senior who needs some help, we can work with you to try to get those services taken care of so that it doesn't deter you from adopting and having those amazing moments for years to come.
What a wonderful program. I am so glad that you mentioned that because I just had a presentation the other day and we were talking about caregivers getting all of their essential documents in place for the person that they're caring for, right? Like healthcare directives and
Yeah.
powers of attorney. And pets is not
Pet.
something that was mentioned, but it's something that perhaps we should talk about more because for those of us who have pets, and I'm talking about if you, even if you're the caregiver, that many times that's the last thing on your mind because you're so focused on caring for that individual that might have some mobility issues or needs more hands-on care.
Mhm.
But then what about the pet? And so that is also something to consider, not only for the senior who lives with the pet, but also the caregiver who might also have pets. I think that's
Mhm.
definitely something that we need to incorporate into our conversations.
Mhm.
Thank you, Martha, for saying that. In fact, one of the things that I was going to mention, because I love the fact that you can assist seniors and older adults with some of the expenses that are related to being a pet owner, even
Mhm.
adopting. But caregiving is so expensive, so expensive. I mean, out of pocket expense is in the thousands of thousands each year. And not only are you more focused on caring for your loved one, but then something comes up, your older pet. I don't know what's considered older in pets anymore, but let's say 8 years old or 9 years old starts to have some health issues themselves. All of a sudden, that's almost always out of pocket. So that's
Yep.
additional funds that you're putting out to help take care of this individual. So it can become very, very challenging, especially people with fixed incomes, where they start to either neglect one or the other or neglect both and then don't have enough food for medication and groceries of their own. So I'm so glad that your organization does provide that kind of support.
Thank you, and you're exactly right. We see that time and time again. In fact, in the past year alone, we are a private nonprofit organization, so it is all about individuals who make donations to us. We do not have any state or government funding, and we basically turn around and look at the money that we bring in from donations and really think about what is needed in the community. And in fact, this Vet Care for Seniors program, we spent over $700,000 last year alone giving that money out into the
Oh,
community for seniors in need so that they wouldn't be in that position. Exactly like you said, Roberto, we don't want someone to have to decide if they're going to pay for the caretaker or pay for the needs of the animal. It shouldn't be a question of someone not getting the support that they need. So the fact that we were able to kind of take that on and help bridge that gap is crucial to us. And we're lucky. We just finished a big campaign where we built a 5,000 square foot medical facility on our property. So now we're able to bring a lot of those things inside and internally. So what we've been doing up until this point is seniors can reach out to us. We have them go to their vet to get a diagnostic or to get a quote. They send it to us. We have to decide if we approve it or not. And it's been a lot of back and forth. But now that we can say, hey, bring your animal to us, we will talk directly. It's going to be a beautiful thing that we can offer for years to come as well.
that is so wonderful. And I'm just thinking, Roberta, I don't know about you, but my wheels are spinning that maybe there are some ways that we can also support the caregivers that we work with because they might not be aware. And I know a lot of them do have pets, and again,
Mhm.
it's not part of the conversation.
Yeah, for caregivers, that's huge. And to be honest, I'm one myself, and it's something that I need to think about. My mother has had multiple sclerosis since I was born. She's been in a wheelchair since I was 4 years old, and it is something that you don't think about. You're focused on your parent or someone that you're caring for, and you forget about the things going on around you. And Marta, I want to go back to a point you were making when you were talking about, you're making all these plans, right? You're putting things in a trust, you're putting things in a will, and you're making sure you have arrangements for the person if they were to get into a critical state. It is so important to document somewhere that this is what you want to happen to this person's animal if there become a time where they need to relinquish or need emergency boarding. We encountered this really, really recently, actually. I'm very fortunate that my father's still in the picture, but my mother actually just went into the hospital for pneumonia not too long ago. And if my father was not in the picture, she would have been in the hospital for over a week with her dog being left at home. And as the paramedics do amazing things, right? So they come in and they get, they call 911, they come in, they take the people. They're supposed to look around for pets, but oftentimes they're very distracted. They're focusing on making sure they get the human to the hospital. It is so important to put maybe, a document, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on your refrigerator saying something like, I have a cat and a dog, especially when it's a cat. I have a cat that likes to hide. You might not see the cat, but we have a cat here. Please make sure you call the Humane Society and have someone take care of my pet while I'm seeking treatment. If we have a senior citizen who's maybe being hospitalized, which we saw a lot during COVID, this is kind of what expanded our program is, we'll take those animals in while that senior is seeking treatment, but we won't be able to help, facilitate that process if the owner or the caregiver doesn't know that we offer that service to begin with. So you're exactly right. Awareness and reminding people of the service of your local humane society and making sure that they make that a part of their packet, so to speak, so that we're included in that and can help assist is really important.
That is such a great suggestion. And I really hope that our listeners are paying attention to all of these suggestions because it's true. As I was listening to you talking, again, I have a dog and a cat, and one of my my
Mhm.
cat likes to hide. And, it, in case of an emergency, we do need to let
Mhm.
somebody know because she's actually the type of cat that if you open the door, she won't go out, she will
Oh,
just
wow.
go hide somewhere. So it is important to take these things into consideration, just like we plan for an emergency preparedness. We
Mhm.
talk about, if you have children, what you need to do. If you're a caregiver, how do you take those steps? But also a pet, that's very important. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, Kelly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, kind of on that emergency preparedness kit, I was thinking about that when the LA fires just happened and thinking about
Hmm.
seniors and people who are in this situation of caregiving and what they should do to help their people. And one of the big things that we found is you need to have up to date records, vaccination records for your pets on hand. So, if you need to reach out to your veterinarian and get those records so you can print them out and have them in your emergency preparedness kit, because a lot of times some of those shelters where you can go stay while you're having to evacuate your home, they require documentation that your animal is up to date on
Yeah.
rabies vaccines, things like that. So, especially if you're dealing with someone with dementia as a caretaker, you need to think about that for them and reach out to the vet and say, "Hey, I'm sure the owner has this information, but I don't know where it's kept, and I need to make sure we have, a good record of the medications the pet is on, a file of that, and what type of food they're supposed to be on, just to make sure you're prepared, just like you would for yourself or a child in need."
You know, this sounds like a really good project for the county Vial of Life program. I don't know if that's included in the Vial of Life, so I'm not sure. But man, I'm hearing this and I'm thinking that should be part of that list if it's not already on there.
Well, I remember a while back when we used to do those presentations and talk about the vial of life, we used to say, it's maybe good to put in pictures of the people who live in the house so that they can kind of know who's
Mhm.
there. But I'm just thinking maybe adding pictures of the pets also, so that they know what to look for and what the cat
Yeah.
looks like and what the dog looks like, would be important too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you ever need me to come give a presentation, just let me know, because yeah, we definitely need someone to advocate for the pets too.
Kelly, can
Absolutely.
I ask
Sounds like
you?
a plan.
Yeah, that would be great. Kelly, can I ask you though, when you do the pet therapy and the visits, I noticed that you do senior communities. Is that like senior apartments or is that at people's homes? What does that mean, senior communities?
Yeah, that's a great question, Roberto. I'd say for the most part, it's, senior living communities that have, kind of a gathering center. So whether it's an apartment complex or, something like that, yes. But, we also work with places like La Costa Glen, which is local here in Carlsbad, where everyone has their own place, but they have a meeting hall. So usually we are people inquire at Rancho Coastal to see if we offer that service, because let's say they have an upcoming Mother's Day, event, and they want us to come bring some, adoptable pets. Well, we'll recommend bringing our pet assisted therapy program. But, we're really flexible. That's kind of another great thing about being, our own private nonprofit organization. We have the flexibility to talk about things case by case. So, Roberto, if you were to reach out to me and tell me that, your mother was looking for a little therapy loving, is it something we normally do? No. But will I get in my car and bring my therapy dog over to come say hello because you told me it would brighten her day? We would
Oh.
figure something out. So I think it's really a case by case situation. And so anyone that's kind of listening into this podcast, if they're ever interested and want to see if there's a, exception we can make, that's what we're here for.
That is wonderful. And that's such a sweet opportunity for individuals who might be, of course, we're working with the family caregivers who are often, not always, but often living with the individual that they care for. Sometimes it's just them two all day long, but they still live at their own home. And to have this possible opportunity to come out, have somebody come out and be with them, what an activity, what joy,
Mhm.
and even respite, because it's a respite from being so engaged as a caregiver when you have your pet there. So that's great.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's not just for the person that they're caring for, it's for the caregiver. The amazing benefits are mutual, and the caregiver definitely benefits. Hence why I'm in this line of work. I have to be honest, after so many years of being a caretaker myself, I knew I needed a pet when I moved out of the house. And yeah, it's come full circle, and the yeah, it's a joy to be in the position I'm in and be able to pay it forward and have conversations with individuals like you who are out there advocating for caregivers.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Kelly, for all you do and for really offering your services to the community. And hopefully, there are some ways that we can collaborate further to bring services like yours to our caregivers.
Same to you both. Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have left for this edition of Let's Talk Caregiving. To hear more of our podcasts, follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms or visit our website at scrc.care. I want to thank Martha for co-hosting another important discussion, Kelly Peters for joining us today, and our audience for tuning in. If you're providing support to a loved one, you don't have to do this alone. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. To connect to our programs and services, visit our website at scrc.care or call us at 1-800-827-1008. If you live outside of San Diego and Imperial counties, visit caregivercalifornia.org and connect to the Caregiver Resource Center nearest you. To support our efforts and make a tax-deductible donation, please go to scrc.care and click on the Donate tab. And remember, SCRC is here for you,
Caring for those who care for others.